The movie begins in a small town in Spain. Inside a local store, a man is seen entering quietly. His intentions are far from innocent, as he is there to steal liquor bottles from a shop. Outside, his son Ian waits. Unlike ordinary children, Ian possesses mysterious powers that allow him to manipulate minds and create illusions. Thanks to Ian's extraordinary ability, the store attendant doesn't notice the man walking out with stolen liquor. Ian manipulates her perception, casting a mental illusion strong enough to hide the theft. But the illusion falters when a group of girls passes by, catching Ian's attention and disrupting his concentration. The false image shatters, and the woman immediately sees what's been done. Reacting fast, she grabs a hammer and storms outside. Ian understands she knows the truth. He quickly creates another illusion, this time making it appear that he's armed. The woman sees a gun in his hand, a threat that should stop her in her tracks. But she keeps walking forward. The illusion intensifies and she collapses to the ground, believing she's been shot. Ian's father grabs him, and they flee. Later, the police arrive and find the woman alive and unharmed. No bullet, no weapon, just a shaken mind. She realizes everything she saw was part of an illusion. News of the strange event begins to spread. Dr. Adriana, a woman deeply involved in the study of paranormal phenomena, hears about it. The nature of the hallucination draws her attention, and she starts tracking Ian and his father. Meanwhile, Ian questions their constant need for secrecy. With powers like his, he believes they could do more than petty crimes. But his father insists on staying hidden. Drawing attention would only expose them to greater threats. That night, Ian falls asleep and dreams of his mother. He sees himself as a child, sitting close to her in a calm moment. But the peace is broken when she suddenly screams, jolting Ian awake. He's unsettled, unsure whether it was a dream or a distant memory. The next day, Adriana begins closing in on their trail. She believes Ian isn't just another anomaly. He might be the key to something much bigger. And though Ian still doesn't understand the full scope of his powers, he's beginning to feel the weight of what they truly mean. The world is starting to notice him, and hiding is no longer an option. It turns out the day holds significance. It's Ian's birthday. He expresses a longing to live a normal life, to step outside and play with children his age. But his father, always wary of exposure, refuses. However, when the opportunity presents itself, while his father is briefly away, Ian seizes the chance and sneaks out. At a dimly lit bar, the officer who once chased Ian struggles to make sense of the strange vision he experienced. He speaks to the bartender, trying to explain how real it all felt, how it seemed like he had driven into a blizzard that wasn't there. As he talks, a mysterious man watches quietly from a corner table. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't speak, just tilts his head slightly. In that instant, the officer slumps over unconscious. That silent figure is known as the Perceptor, another gifted mind bender, one whose powers rival Ian's. Elsewhere, Dr. Adriana finally locates Ian and his father. With her team in tow, she infiltrates their safe house and captures Ian's father. Their exchange reveals a hidden past. They were once allies, working under the same secretive agency. But Ian's father broke away long ago, wanting no part in the experiments that the agency continued to run. Adriana demands answers about Ian's location, but the man stays silent. Frustrated, she reflects on the agency's true mission, engineering people with unnatural powers for the sake of war. Ian's powers are no accident. He is a product of that legacy, not because he was experimented on, but because his mother was. Through her, Ian was born with natural access to abilities that others were only artificially given. These superhumans once served in conflict, helping achieve military success. But peace brought fear. The government, seeing them as potential threats, ordered their elimination. One by one, they were hunted down. Only one Perceptor now remains, the very man from the bar. His ability to manipulate minds with nothing more than thought makes him a top priority. Adriana is stunned to discover that this last Perceptor fathered a child. Ian isn't just another anomaly. He's proof that these abilities can pass on. That changes everything. The agency's goals shift. Ian is no longer just a target. He's the missing piece of a much larger equation. Adriana now resolves to find them both. Capture isn't just a mission, it's a necessity. She won't allow another generation of superpowered minds to slip through the cracks. The chase is no longer secret, it's personal. Soon after, Adriana receives word that Ian has been spotted at a local gaming zone. Wasting no time, she heads there with her team. But she's not the only one who knows. Perceptor, aware of the threat closing in, arrives first. Using his powers, he distorts the surroundings, weaving illusions to confuse Adriana's team and delay their approach. Ian notices the strange presence and freezes. For the first time, he sees someone with powers like his. But before he can process what's happening, Adriana's team closes in and quickly places a specially designed helmet on the Perceptor, one built to suppress psychic abilities. Even with his powers blocked, the Perceptor resists fiercely, managing to hold off his captors longer than expected. Amid the chaos, Adriana reaches Ian and secures him. She places a helmet on him as well, collects a blood sample, and swiftly transports him to a high-security facility known as Awareness, the same place responsible for creating superpowered individuals through genetic manipulation. Inside the facility, Adriana sits Ian down and explains what's really going on. The man he saw, the Perceptor, wants him on his side, but it isn't an invitation. If Ian refuses, he'll become a threat, and threats are eliminated. Adriana has her own plan. She wants Ian to cooperate with the agency, to willingly submit his power to their control. The key, she says, lies in his blood. If they can decode it, they'll gain the ability to turn his abilities on or off whenever they choose. To test his limits, she asks Ian to create a human figure. He tries but admits he's never been able to do it. She then tells him to summon a beach, a simple shoreline. Ian focuses, but again, nothing happens. Sensing his uncertainty, Adriana urges him to use emotion. She shows him a photo of his mother. The impact is instant. A rush of feeling overtakes him, and with it, the illusion materializes. Waves, sand, sky, and a tiny fly drifting nearby. Adriana is stunned. She challenges Ian to bring the illusion into reality, but Ian hesitates. He agrees to try, on one condition. First, he wants to see his father. Adriana agrees and takes him to the man he believes is his parent, who now lies unconscious. But then she reveals a shocking truth. The man he had trusted all his life was not his real father. He had stolen Ian from the lab years ago. Ian refuses to believe it and accuses her of lying. She reminds him of his ability to read minds. If he truly wants the truth, he should look into the man's thoughts. When Ian does, the reality hits him hard. Within the man's mind, he sees fragmented memories of working inside the lab long ago alongside Adriana. His mother had been there too. It becomes clear that she had undergone experiments in the same facility, eventually transforming into a Perceptor with immense abilities. Over time, those memories reveal something darker. His mother had vanished one day under mysterious circumstances, and the man Ian had known as his father, once just a technician in the lab, had taken him away, hiding him from the agency all these years. As Ian's memories begin to realign, the man he believed was his father understands the truth has come to light. Without delay, he grabs Ian and flees the facility. Meanwhile, Adriana, piecing everything together, tells her team that Ian has been lied to from the very beginning. The man who raised him isn't his biological father, and more shockingly, Ian's real mother might still be alive. Before leaving, Adriana warns her agents that if Ian ever unlocks his third power, he could become their greatest weapon against the Perceptor and his underground network. Elsewhere in the facility, a young female operative approaches Ian in secret. She quietly reveals that the agency plans to run endless experiments on him and urges him to escape. She's skilled, determined, and ready to help. Ian agrees. Together with the man who raised him joining them, they escape into the night, but the Perceptor is already inside the compound. Disguised and alert, he quickly realizes Ian is gone, prompting the agency to launch a full-scale manhunt for Ian and the man who once took him. The three fugitives take shelter in a cheap hotel. Ian grows more certain that his real mother is alive. Determined to find her, he dives into the mind of the man who raised him. From those memories, he locates the exact place they escaped years ago. But to get there, Ian needs money. Desperate, he forges a check at a bank and secures the cash. When he returns, he finds the man finally awake. Now, with truth hanging between them, Ian prepares to demand answers. Ian, now full of resentment, accuses the man of lying to him his entire life. He announces his decision to return to the place from where he was taken, determined to uncover the truth and find his real mother. The man tries to justify his actions, claiming the lies were meant to protect Ian's life. But Ian refuses to listen. With the help of the same girl who aided his escape, he sets out for the lab once again. Meanwhile, Adriana learns of their whereabouts and dispatches a team to capture them. However, before her forces can strike, the Perceptor arrives at the scene. Without hesitation, he eliminates Adriana's operatives, clearing the path. Ian and the girl finally reach the abandoned lab, a place filled with old documents and classified records. As they search, they stumble upon a file belonging to Ian's mother. Just as they begin to uncover its contents, the Perceptor appears. A shocking twist unfolds. The girl who had seemed like Ian's ally is actually working with the Perceptor. She tells Ian that the answers he's been seeking, every question haunting his mind, can only be given by this man. But Ian is no longer trusting. Suspicion builds, and he raises a gun toward them. The Perceptor quickly realizes it's nothing more than another illusion. However, he doesn't retaliate. He steps forward and points a real weapon at Ian, but chooses not to pull the trigger. Instead, he shares the truth. The Perceptor claims he is not Ian's enemy, but his father. He begins to reveal a past that stretches back to the Cold War era. A scientist, during that time, developed a secret formula capable of embedding extraordinary powers into humans. The technology was even tested on his own daughter. But once the war ended, ended, the government no longer needed these enhanced individuals. One by one, they were hunted down and eliminated. Among them was a Perceptor. He chose resistance. Instead of running, he retaliated by controlling the minds of the agents sent to kill them, forcing them to eliminate themselves. This ability, known as the Third Power, became a tool of survival. That Perceptor trained others like him, preparing them for independence. Eventually, those who escaped the government's grip vowed to live as normal civilians. During that period, the Perceptor met Ian's mother. What followed was unprecedented. A child born from two Perceptors. Ian became the first of his kind. Ian's abilities matched those of any full-grown Perceptor. Every extraordinary trait lived within him. At that moment, agency commandos swarmed the area. The Perceptor quickly urged the girl to take Ian and escape while he stayed behind to hold them off. The two managed to flee, but the Perceptor was ultimately captured. The commandos forced a power-blocking helmet onto him and brought him to the agency's lab. There, he was restrained in a chair, and samples of his blood were extracted. The scientists began conducting invasive experiments, subjecting him to immense pain. At one point, his condition became so critical that Adriana feared he might not survive. She was forced to halt the tests. Soon after, the results of his DNA analysis came in. The findings shocked the team. His genetic structure was far too complex. It was impossible to create a stable formula using his blood. This revelation infuriated Adriana. The one subject they truly needed was Ian. If a formula were to be derived, it would have to come from him. Realizing this, she knew they would have to capture him again. Meanwhile, the Perceptor, still restrained, whispered a request for water. But it wasn't just thirst. With his powers returning, he subtly reached into the operator's mind and manipulated him. Under the Perceptor's control, the operator activated a nearby robot and turned its weapons on the scientists. In the chaos, the Perceptor escaped. Elsewhere, Ian and the girl made their way to the Perceptor's house. Once inside, Ian was stunned to find his mother still alive. But she was immobile, unable to move or speak. Soon, the Perceptor arrived and revealed the truth. Only fragments of her memory had survived. Though her body was unresponsive, her mind still held echoes of her past. Ian was told that he could access her memories. Entering her mind, he began to see the pieces of her life unfold. He witnessed her suffering, how she had been tortured when he was just a child. The Perceptor joined him inside her memory, and together they saw something remarkable. Beneath the young Ian's feet was a complex design, the very DNA sequence used to create more Perceptors. Ian reached the formula easily, but when the Perceptor tried to approach it, an invisible wall stopped him. This barrier, born from the deepest corners of Ian's mother's mind, blocked all his attempts. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't pass through it. With every strike he made against the mental wall, Ian's mother began to experience intense pain in the real world. Her body reacted violently. The moment grew dire, forcing Ian and the Perceptor out of her memory to protect her from further harm. The final moments for Ian's mother arrive. Her body, already fragile from the strain, gives out and she passes away. Grief consumes Ian. The pain of losing her, after only briefly reconnecting through her memories, shatters him. But there's no time to mourn. More agency commandos flood the area, surrounding them from all sides. Yet something has awakened within Ian. He now fully understands his third ability, the most dangerous of them all. He can control minds. Without hesitation, he taps into that power. The soldiers begin turning on one another, firing their weapons under his influence. Chaos erupts as they are made to attack their own allies. After disabling the immediate threat, Ian steps outside where Adriana and more commandos await him. She tries to reason with him, urging him to stop, but Ian refuses to listen. At that critical moment, the man who raised him, the one who had once stolen him from the lab, arrives. He pleads with Ian not to make a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. He warns that the Perceptor is manipulating him and only wants to use him as a weapon. The Perceptor is already present and tries to provoke Ian, urging him to kill the man standing before him. But Ian cannot bring himself to do it. His feelings run too deep. In a brutal twist, the Perceptor takes control of Ian's mind and forces him to shoot the very man he loves. The bullet strikes, and Ian watches in horror as the man collapses, severely wounded. The shock breaks Ian's composure. Desperate and shaken, he rushes to his side, begging him not to leave. His father, now nearing the end, gently urges Ian to look into his mind. Only through his memories will Ian finally understand the full truth. Ian enters his memories and witnesses a scene he never expected. His mother, in her final moments at the lab, asking this man to take Ian and run. She had trusted him with her child's life, knowing the agency would try to exploit him. She believed Ian would only be safe with him. More memories surface, moments of love, sacrifice, and care. It becomes clear that this man never betrayed him. He had protected him with everything he had. Ian returns from the memory just in time to see him draw his final breath. Tears fall freely now. For the first time, Ian calls him father. The truth had changed everything. Though not connected by blood, the bond between them had always been real. Now, with the man who raised him gone and his heart consumed by pain, Ian has only one purpose left: to destroy the Perceptor. Fueled by vengeance, Ian picks up a gun and tracks the Perceptor to a party. Determined to end it all, he uses his powers to render everyone at the gathering unconscious. But the Perceptor is already prepared. Inside the party, the Perceptor held the girl, who had helped Ian escape the lab, at gunpoint. Both he and Ian began using their powers against each other. While Ian attempted to regain control, the Perceptor unleashed his full potential. All the unconscious guests were brought back to awareness by his mental manipulation, and they immediately turned hostile toward Ian. As the chaos unfolded, one of the men grabbed Ian and prepared to strike a fatal blow. But just in time, Adriana arrived and shot the attacker in the head, saving Ian. She then ordered the Perceptor to release the girl. However, she soon revealed a shocking truth. There was no girl. It had all been an illusion crafted within Ian's mind. The Perceptor had manipulated his thoughts so deeply that he had imagined companionship that never existed. Reality hit hard. Ian realized that he had escaped the lab alone. The presence of the girl was nothing more than a mental projection, one that the Perceptor had embedded in his consciousness. Even now, the imaginary girl appeared beside him, pleading with Ian not to shoot. She expressed affection, a desire to stay by his side, but Ian now knew the truth. The image was only a mask. Standing before him was the real enemy. Without hesitation, Ian pulled the trigger. The bullet passed through the illusion and struck the Perceptor directly. The impact ended the threat for good. The projection of the girl then approached Ian once more, even though she wasn't real. He had kept her alive in his mind for so long simply because she represented something he deeply wished for: love, comfort, and someone to believe in. As she embraced him, it was clear that she was a piece of his heart he had chosen not to let go. Sometime later, Ian visited the graves of both his mother and the man who raised him. Adriana joined him there. She gave him a choice: join the agency and fight alongside them, or remain neutral while the enemy prepared to strike again. Ian quietly declined both sides. He made it clear he belonged to neither faction. He then walked away and got into his car, where the imagined girl was still seated beside him, a memory he chose to preserve. Back at Adriana, an agent appeared beside her. When she asked what their next move should be, she realized no one was there. It was another illusion. Ian had crafted it to mislead her, ensuring she would stay distracted while he remained one step ahead, and with that, the story ends.